Hello, my darlings. Welcome back to our cozy corner. Grab your tea or perhaps a bowl of snacks, because today's story is an absolute feast of karma. We are diving into a deliciously vindicating tale about the myth of the golden ticket husband. Our heroine, Jiang Ning, wakes up to find her legitimate older sister begging to swap fiancés. The sister wants the seemingly poor scholar who is destined to become prime minister, and happily dumps the gravely ill, dying Marquis onto our heroine. What the sister doesn't realize is that the scholar's future success wasn't his own doing. It was entirely built on the blood, sweat, and secret intellect of our heroine in her past life. So, what does Jiang Ning do? She happily takes the dying Marquis, magically cures him out of sheer pragmatism, and literally sits back with a bowl of sunflower seeds to watch her sister's stolen marriage spectacularly implode. Let me walk you through the three most jaw-dropping, applause-worthy moments of this absolute masterpiece. After my legitimate older sister's rebirth, the first thing she did was drop to her knees with a thud in front of father. Father, your daughter is willing to marry that poor scholar and give up the Marquis Manor's wealth and glory to my younger sister. Everyone around was stunned, thinking she'd gone mad. Only I dug my nails hard into my palm to keep myself from laughing out loud. Dear older sister, do you think that poor scholar from our previous life became prime minister because of his extraordinary talent? No. It was because I embroidered day and night to earn travel money for him, wrote policy essays for him, and even used my entire dowry to pave his way. Since you want to snatch this seemingly glorious ideal husband, then I'll tearfully accept this Marquis Manor's splendor that is supposedly destined for widowhood. In my mind, the drama-watching gossip system dinged online, detected that the host has successfully escaped misfortune, rewarding including but not limited to premium melon seeds, peanuts, and sweet spring water unlimited drama, watching gift pack, plus unlimited pension treasury bonus after losing your husband. Dear older sister, I wish you and that worthless mud are bound together life after life. Don't you dare look back. The floor tiles in the front hall were cold and hard. Jiang Yao knelt upright, her back radiating an air of righteous determination. My father, Minister Jiang, was so startled that his teacup tilted in his hand. Scalding tea splashed all over his hand, but he couldn't even bother to wipe it off. His finger pointing at Jiang Yao trembled uncontrollably. You, what nonsense are you spouting? The Marquis of Yong'an's estate is such a prestigious household that countless people beg for but can't obtain. You say give it up just like that, father. Jiang Yao lifted her head, two streams of clear tears hanging on her face, yet her eyes suppressed an unusual fervor. My younger sister has been frail since childhood and cannot endure hardship. That Li Wenkai's family is utterly destitute. If we let my sister marry into that, wouldn't it be the death of her? I am the eldest sister, so I should naturally share my sister's burdens. This hardship, I'll bear it for her. As for the good fortune of the Marquis of Yong'an's estate, let's give it to my sister. She spoke with such genuine emotion, as if moving heaven and earth. The concubines and maids around all had reddened eyes, wiping away tears while praising the eldest miss for her righteousness. Only I kept my head down, biting down hard on my back molars. Righteousness, she is just afraid of death. In my previous life, she married into the Marquis of Yong'an's estate, with great joy. But that very night, the Marquis Luli died from poison. She remained a widow for life, her hair turning white as she endured the desolate, lonely mansion. And I was forced by her into the hellhole that was Lai Wenkai. What kind of thing is Lai Wenkai? On the surface aloof and proud, but in reality just a leech who only knows how to suck blood. In my previous life, to support his imperial examinations, I strained my eyes blind doing endless embroidery work and pawned all my dowry jewelry. When he couldn't pass, I relied on the knowledge I'd secretly learned as a child from eavesdropping on the Grand Tutor's lectures to help him analyze essay questions and write articles, even spending money to grease palms for him everywhere. In the end, when he rose to the highest ministerial position, the first thing he did was force me to drink a cup of poisoned wine, then turned around to marry the current dynasty's princess. Yao has gone through rebirth and has her eye on my previous life's title of Prime Minister's wife. She is rushing over to steal the fruits of my labor. Nonsense. My father was still struggling. The marriage contract between our two families is already set. How can this be child's play? If father won't agree, your daughter will cut off this hair today, renounce the world and become a nun, spending her days with nothing but prayer lamps and Buddha. Yao said sternly, making as if to pull out her hairpin. Wait. I took a step forward at just the right moment, showing an expression of being both flattered and uneasy. Elder sister. Elder sister is truly willing. My voice trembled, as if I'd been dazed by this wealth and fortune falling from the sky. Yao turned her head, her eyes unable to hide the smugness and mockery as she looked at me. Ninga, elder sister is doing this for your own good. The Marquis manor is wealthy and noble. Marrying into it will be a life of happiness. This is all your elder sister's goodwill. No need to thank me. Of course I should thank you. Thank you for taking that sanctimonious, ungrateful wretch off my hands. Thank you for handing over the Marquis Manor's enormous fortune on a silver platter. We always hear about women fighting over a successful man, treating him like a winning lottery ticket. The sister is so blinded by her greed that she thinks the scholar simply breathes success. Our heroine's internal monologue drops the absolute truth bomb. The man was nothing but a parasite. Without her doing the actual academic heavy lifting and funding him, he is just useless mud. It sets up the most delicious suspense for the audience. We get to sit back and watch the greedy sister desperately wait for her husband to become a genius, completely unaware that she forgot to steal the actual brains of the operation. Our heroine. Since elder sister has made up her mind, I took out my handkerchief and dabbed at the non-existent tears at the corners of my eyes. Then, younger sister, I shall respectfully comply. A crisp ding sounded in my mind. Detected that the host has successfully changed fate. Theatre watching system activated. Newbie gift pack distributed. 1 bag of secret recipe. 5 spice sunflower seeds. Invisible soundproof barrier. Can block the sound of cracking sunflower seeds. System task E. Watch the legitimate elder sister scheme for the dowry. Reward 1 rejuvenation pill. My wide sleeve moved slightly, and a small handful of sunflower seeds appeared in my palm. This show is getting more and more interesting. Although the marriage swap was absurd, under Yao's persistent pestering, plus my biased legitimate mother Lady Wang fanning the flames, it actually came to pass. After all, in their eyes, I'm a concubine-born daughter. Marrying that sickly dying Marquis, for good luck, is making the best use of resources, while their precious legitimate daughter is to marry that scholarly and talented poor scholar, who will surely earn an official wife's honorary title in the future. The wedding date was set for the 8th day of next month. These past few days, the household has been in complete chaos. Legitimate mother Lady Wang, to save face for Yao, wished she could empty out the entire storehouse of the minister's mansion. Yao, although these 64 sedan chairs of dowry may seem a bit modest, they're all genuinely fine items. Lady Wang held Yao's hand, wiping away tears. Especially those few shops on West Street. That is mother's private savings. Take them with you, and they'll be just right for your husband's tuition and travel expenses. Yao looked at the fully packed dowry list, her eyes practically glowing. You have to understand, in my previous life when I married Lai Wenkai, There were only a measly 16 sedan chairs, and the chests were padded with old cotton wadding. "Mother, you're so good to me." Jiang Yao acted coquettishly while hugging Lady Wang. "But what about second sister?" She glanced in my direction. Her meaning couldn't be more obvious. Lady Wang's face immediately turned cold. A concubine-born girl who can marry into a Marquis household is already thanks to ancestral virtue. What good dowry does she need? Isn't the betrothal gift from the Marquis household all in the public funds? When the time comes, we'll add 2 silk quilts for her, so people won't say we mistreated her. And that is enough. Jiang Yao's lips curved up in a smug smile. Not only does she want to steal people, she wants to steal money too. Does she think that with all this wealth, Lai Wenkai will rise smoothly through the ranks? Naive, Lai Wenkai is a bottomless pit. Forget 64 sedan chairs. Even the great Zhou dynasty's national treasury wouldn't be enough to fill the appetites of his gambling addict, father and greedy, vicious mother. I stood behind the corridor pillar outside the door, leisurely cracking open a melon seed. Task completed. Reward rejuvenation pill ex.You S been deposited into inventory. I dusted off the crumbs from my hands and walked in with a beaming smile to pay my respects. Mother is right. That daughter can marry into the Marquis' household is already more than I dare hope for. But I paused, looking at Jiang Yao with a pure and worried expression. Sister is bringing so much gold, silver and jade to the Lai family. Young Master Li has always been aloof and proud, detesting vulgar things the most. Won't he think sister is using wealth to pressure him and humiliate him? Jiang Yao's expression stiffened. Lai Wenkai was the most vain and face-conscious. In my previous life, even if I bought him a meat bun, I had to say it was a reward from the master's family, afraid of hurting his laughable self-esteem. This, Jiang Yao hesitated. How about, I kindly suggested, sister exchanges those conspicuous gold, silver, antiques, and shop properties for banknotes and keeps them hidden on your person. Openly, just bring some rare books, paintings, brushes, ink, paper, and inkstones. This way you preserve young Master Li's lofty pride, and sister also has real security in hand. Jiang Yao's eyes lit up. Sister really thinks things through. So she swiftly disposed of all those shops and estates that could have generated income, exchanging them for a thick stack of banknotes. Fool, the Lai family environment was simply a den of bandits, a stack of banknotes. In the eyes of that kind of household, was not only the easiest thing to lose, but also a death warrant that could cost one's life. I watched Jiang Yao clutching that money box as if it were a rare treasure, silently giving the system a thumbs up in my heart. These melon seeds were really delicious. The 8th day is an auspicious date. Jiang Yao and I are both getting married on the same day. Red silk hangs high at the entrance of the Jiang family home, with 2 bridal sedan chairs, one in front of the other. Jiang Yao's sedan chair is in front, with music and fanfare so lively. Even though Lai Wenkai's pockets are cleaner than his face, for the sake of appearances he gritted his teeth and rented a tall horse. With red silk draped across its chest, he put on a full show of a scholar fetching his bride. It is just a pity that the horse is so skinny. It is all skin and bones, wobbling as it walks. My sedan chair is behind, cold and desolate. The Yong'an Marquis manor only sent the butler with a few old maids to fetch the bride. The common folk on the roadside whisper to each other, that is, the Jiang family's substitute concubine-born daughter. What a sin! They say she is marrying to dispel bad luck, but she is probably going there to keep vigil over a corpse. Exactly, I heard that Yong'an Marquis can't even get out of bed anymore. The eldest miss still has a discerning eye. Marrying a scholar, that is a good life of harmonious marriage ahead. I sit in the sedan chair, comfortably leaning against the soft cushion, clutching a handful of melon seeds, and thanks to the system's soundproof barrier, cracking them loudly pitiful. I'm going to inherit a massive fortune. Okay. Although the Marquis's residents didn't send anyone to greet me, the betrothal gifts they sent were genuine imperial bestowments. Even though Wang Shi shamelessly pocketed most of them, what remained was still worth more than I could ever earn. Besides, in this world, apart from silver, what is more worry-free than a husband you never have to see? Upon arriving at the Marquis's residence, the main gate was tightly shut, and the bridal sedan was carried in through a side entrance. The entire estate was adorned with carved beams and painted rafters, magnificent and luxurious, yet all the maids and servants wore sallow expressions. Even the bright red lanterns exuded a gloomy and oppressive aura, as if ready to be replaced with white silk at any moment. The steward looked distressed. "Madam, please forgive us. His lordship is gravely ill and unable to rise to perform the ceremonial bows. No matter, saving a life is urgent." I threw off the bridal veil in one swift motion and briskly headed toward the bridal chamber. The bridal chamber reeked of bitter medicine. I immediately spotted the man lying on the canopy bed. That was the Marquis of Yong'an, Lu Li. Even with his face showing a deathly greyish-purple hue and his lips cracked and dry, it still couldn't conceal his sharply defined, handsome features. His sword-like brows swept into his temples, his nose bridge high and straight. Only he was taking in more air than he was letting out. Cough, cough. Lu Li suddenly coughed violently, a trace of black blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. The servant beside him kowtowed frantically in panic. My lord, please hang on the imperial physician. Go urge the imperial physician again." I moved closer to take a look, my brows furrowing slightly. This wasn't illness at all. It was clearly severe poisoning. The toxin had attacked his heart, and he was clearly experiencing a final surge before death. Suddenly, an urgent system alert sounded in my mind. "Emergency mission released. Don't want to be labeled a jinx and kicked out of the manor right after marrying in. Stabilize Lu Li's life immediately. Reward piercing insight skill. Can view a character's hidden nature and status once." There was no room for hesitation. I turned around, pretending to pour the warm water the physician had left behind, and extracted the rejuvenation pill from my bag, dissolving it in the water. Everyone move aside. I walked over carrying the water bowl, forcefully gripped Lu Li's jaw, and slowly poured the warm water into his mouth. With my other hand, I gently pressed and massaged several major acupoints on his chest to help regulate his breathing. "Swallow it," I whispered, close to his ear. Lu Li's throat moved slightly as the medicinal water flowed down his windpipe. In just the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, the miraculous medicine produced by the system took effect. His severe gasping gradually subsided, and even that deathly pallor on his face dissipated for the most part. The next second, his long lashes trembled, and he suddenly opened his eyes. They were an extremely dark and deep pair of eyes, like a frozen deep pond stretching for miles, carrying sharp wariness and also a trace of bewilderment. "You," he opened his mouth, his voice hoarse like sandpaper grinding. "Don't talk. Save your strength to call me wife." I casually pulled the brocade quilt over to cover him properly and patted his shoulder. "Stay alive. There is a good show to watch tomorrow." Although the spring recovery pill couldn't immediately cure all the rare poison, its effects of protecting the heart meridian and strengthening the body were immediate. Lu Li, who originally had one foot in death's door, not only stopped vomiting blood on the second day, but could even lean against the small couch and drink half a bowl of thin porridge. It is just that the way he looked at me grew increasingly profound, probably unable to believe that what he thought was a certain death situation had actually been inadvertently stabilized by a bride brought in for good luck. I couldn't be bothered to explain, because the third day was the important day for returning to my maiden home. I deliberately picked out a radiant shoe brocade gown, from the private treasury allocated to me by the Marquis manor, with hair ornaments and jewelry displaying utmost luxury. When I walked, I was adorned with pearls and jade, projecting an air of limitless favor, like a nouveau riche. Luli had not yet recovered, and the imperial physician instructed that he needed rest. But he insisted on going back with me. Since you've entered the Marquis manor, you are a woman of the Lu family. All of the capital knows this Marquis is gravely ill. If I let you return to your maiden home alone, wouldn't that invite mockery for nothing? He sat in his rosewood wheelchair, and though his complexion was still pale, that kind of noble elegance and dignity soaked into his very bones made people dare not look directly at him. I covered my lips and chuckled softly, thinking to myself that you're not really going there to back me up. You clearly caught wind of the big show brewing at the Jiang family. The Marquis Manor's carriage had just arrived at the Jiang family's main gate when we happened upon Jiang Yao and Lai Wenkai getting off from the other direction. And this sight, I nearly lost my composed expression. After just 3 days, Jiang Yao looked like a completely different person. Her originally bright and beautiful red dress was wrinkled beyond recognition, the hem stained with mud. Her elaborate hairdo had come partly undone, and her eyes were filled with an unhideable haggardness. And Lai Wenkai beside her looked even more impatient and disgusted. Wearing the robe Jiang Yao had spent a fortune on, fanning himself with a folding fan, the moment he saw me being helped down from the luxurious carriage by my maid, his eyes went straight. Oh my, why is second sister dressed so lavishly? Seeing my outfit, the jealousy and resentment in Jiang Yao's eyes nearly overflowed. I heard brother-in-law is gravely ill, sister. Aren't you afraid such attire will bring bad luck to the patient? She hadn't received the news from the Marquis manor yet. Before I could speak, the heavy curtain of the carriage behind me was lifted. The attendant steadily lowered the wheelchair, and Luli, draped in a large cloak, raised his eyes to scan the crowd. Thank you for your concern, elder sister-in-law. This Marquis's life is quite sturdy. Luli's voice wasn't loud, but it carried an intimidating authority that chilled one to the bone. Li Wenkai's folding fan dropped to the ground with a snap. Jiang Yao looked even more like she'd seen a ghost, her features twisted, lips trembling. You're not dead. The lady is deeply blessed, so naturally this Marquis must live 100 years to properly protect those by his side. Luli extended his hand quite naturally, grasping my wrist, then his gaze shifted slightly. On the other hand, eldest sister-in-law, you just celebrated your great joy, so why does your complexion look so ashen? I naturally stood beside Luli, eyes smiling. That is right. Didn't sister say she was marrying a talented scholar to enjoy an easy life? How come after only 3 days, you don't even have a servant to attend to your washing and grooming? Jiang Yao ground her teeth, her fingers twisting the handkerchief tightly. I recalled my newly acquired skill and silently chanted penetrating insight. In my mind, my gaze falling on Li Wenkai. Character details, Lai Wenkai. Hidden traits. Sanctimonious, extremely greedy, addicted to gambling, current status. Last night at the Southern District gambling den, he now owes 300 taels in loan shark debts. Currently scheming how to secretly steal his new wife's dowry banknotes to settle the account, has already colluded with the gambling den manager in secret. Whoa, this tea is explosive right from the start. Jiang Yao. Oh, Jiang Yao, if she knew that the dowry she painstakingly converted into banknotes would be sent to the gambling den tonight by her beloved potential stock, how spectacular would her expression be? The Jiang family's return visit banquet could truly be called spectacular and full of undercurrents. At the dinner table, my father, Minister Jiang, kept toasting tea and serving dishes to Lu Li, his old face beaming like a blooming chrysanthemum. Lord Marquis is blessed with great fortune turning danger into safety. truly a great blessing for our Jiang family. Just a few days ago, he had indulged Zhang Yao's tantrum and shoved me into the Marquis's manor, like a discarded pawn. Now, seeing that Lu Li not only didn't die but has even greater prestige, he immediately turned around and started desperately sucking up to him. This is the nature of those who cling to power and influence. Lu Li's expression was as calm as water, playing with the Celadon teacup in his hand. Occasionally he'd turn to use the serving chopsticks to pick up a piece of tender fish belly for me. Truly the picture of a man who doted on his wife without restraint. On the other side, Lai Wenkai was left out in the cold at the lower seat, his face ashen. He had originally thought that marrying the legitimate eldest daughter of the minister's manor would make this homecoming visit incredibly glorious, giving him a chance to network with the powerful and influential. Instead, all the limelight was completely suppressed by Lu Li sitting in his wheelchair. Unwilling to accept this, his bitterness overflowing, he wanted to seek some sense of superiority in an area where he excelled. I've heard that Lord Marquis comes from a military family, yet is also well versed in literature. Lai Wenkai raised his wine cup, raising his voice with passive-aggressive sarcasm. This humble one has little talent, but I'm preparing to take this year's autumn examination. I was hoping to receive some guidance from Lord Marquis on the path of scholarly writing. He wants to publicly compete in literary talent, to humiliate Lu Li. Zhang Yao also chimed in from the side, eager to salvage face. That is right. My husband is brilliantly talented. Even the masters at the Imperial Academy praise his essays endlessly. Though the Marquis comes from noble birth, when it comes to policy essays and refined writing, I'm afraid it still can't compare to the solid foundation from humble origins and arduous study, can it? Lu Li set down the jade chopsticks in his hand and leisurely took a silk napkin to dab the corners of his mouth. Essays? He let out an extremely faint laugh. This Marquis is indeed not skilled at writing those flowery romantic things. A trace of contempt immediately appeared on Lai Wenkai's face. So the Marquis is an illiterate marshal. This Marquis only knows. Lu Li raised his eyes, his gaze cold and sharp as frost and snow, piercing straight at Lai Wenkai. That no matter how well essays are written, if one even has to secretly take his legal wife's dowry to pay off debts, and even gambles red-eyed at the gambling house in the south of the city, then those sage books have been read straight into a dog's belly. Clang! The silver chopsticks in Zhang Yao's hand suddenly dropped onto the plate, making a crisp sound. Lai Wenkai's face instantly turned the color of pig's liver. He shot up from his seat and stammered, "You Marquis, don't you dare spout such bloody slander, whether it is slanderous accusations or not. Brother-in-law knows best in his own heart." Lu Li's tone was languid, yet every word struck at the heart. Last night, at the hour of high, at Jubao workshop, in the southern part of the city, brother-in-law pawned a mutton-fat jade pendant of excellent quality. That jade pendant was carved with twin lotus flowers. If this Marquis remembers correctly, it seems to be eldest sister's treasured dowry item from the bottom of her chest. Is it not? Zhang Yao jerked her head around and stared daggers at Li Wenkai, her voice so shrill it cracked. "My Hettian lotus flower jade pendant. This morning you told me you needed it to wear for a social engagement, and you actually dared to gamble it away." Lai Wenkai's eyes darted around in panic, cold sweat seeping from his temples, stammering, I just wanted to take a gamble, win back the capital, to supplement the household expenses for you." Smack. Zhang Yao raised her hand, and without any hesitation slapped Lai Wenkai hard across the face. The entire venue fell deathly silent. I silently put the melon seeds I had shelled into my mouth. Spectacular, this was 100 times more entertaining than watching Striking the Golden Branch at the Opera House. This slap from Zhang Yao not only shattered Lai Wenkai's hypocritical pride, but also completely shattered her own pipe dream of being an imperially honored lady. She had originally counted on Lai Wenkai to earn her tremendous face, But now she hadn't gained any face, and her dignity was completely rotten through. "I want a divorce," Jiang Yao cried out, her eyes filled with regret. "Divorce?" Lai Wenkai covered his red and swollen face, his refined demeanor completely gone, revealing his hideous true nature. "Jiang Yao, don't forget. Our marriage certificate has been officially registered at the magistrate's office. You want a divorce now, dream on. In life, you're a person of the Lai family. In death, you're a ghost of the Lai family. I've already gambled away that jade pendant. If you want to redeem it, bring money." Jiang Yao trembled all over with anger and looked to my father and Madame Wang for help. But my father, feeling embarrassed and humiliated, kept his face dark as iron and remained silent, unwilling to deal with this mess. Although Madame Wang felt sorry for her daughter, she didn't dare act out of line under Luli's imposing pressure. Jiang Yao despaired. She turned to look at me, her eyes full of resentment and venom. "It is you. This is all your fault, Jiang Ning. You saw through him all along, didn't you? You deliberately watched me make a fool of myself." I blinked innocently and said in a soft, gentle voice, "Sister, where does this accusation come from? Back then it was you who insisted on going on a hunger strike to show your determination, crying and begging to swap marriages. I tearfully gave up this good match to you." A killing blow to the heart. Jiang Yao couldn't catch her breath. Her eyes rolled back, and she fainted dead away. The homecoming banquet ended in chaos and discord. Jiang Yao was forcibly dragged by Li Wenkai onto that shabby old carriage and hauled back. I sat in the spacious carriage on the way back to the Marquis's manor, feeling so cheerful that even the cold wind outside seemed refreshing and sweet. Was it good? A deep, mellow male voice suddenly came from beside me. I turned my head and found myself staring right into Luli's profound eyes that seemed both smiling and not. What? I played dumb. The show. Luli leaned forward slightly, his warm breath brushing past my ear. Just now at father-in-law's house, the lady was using her sleeves as cover while cracking melon seeds with great relish. My old face flushed slightly red. Careless of me. I forgot there was a sharp-eyed and sharp-eared martial artist sitting beside me. Well, having nothing else to do, just exercising my jaw muscles, I laughed it off. My lord was mighty and imposing today, bringing honor to this humble wife. I'm deeply grateful. Is that so? Luli's slender fingers gently covered the back of my hand resting on my knee. Then how do you plan to thank this Marquis? Thank? Didn't I already pull you back from death's door with that miracle medicine? What kind of thanks does my lord want? I looked at him warily. Luli gazed at me, his eyes containing less hostility and more of a profound meaning I couldn't understand. This Marquis suddenly feels, his voice was low, that if we carefully live out these days together, it might actually be quite interesting before. When he was poisoned by that strange toxin, he felt the world had turned grey and was resigned to life or death. But now, looking at this little concubine-born daughter beside him who stayed calm in the face of trouble, with cunning gleaming in her eyes, his heart that had been dead, and still inexplicably gained a few traces of vitality. Upon returning to the Marquis manor, the system in my mind rang out as promised. Task completed. Witness the homecoming drama. Reward issued. 1 top-tier disguise expert secret guard. Codename, Granny Wang. Utterly loyal with unparalleled martial arts skills. New task triggered. Expose the hypocrite's fraudulent reputation. Reward, 1 bottle of truth. Serum, colorless and tasteless. Speaks freely without reservation for half a shikan after consumption. Looking at Granny Wang, who appeared out of thin air in the corner of the inner courtyard, bowing respectfully, my heart bloomed with joy. With such an excellent helper, I could truly live peaceful days in this deep water Marquis manor from now on. As for Luli, I had originally planned to arrange for him to continue recuperating in the quiet study, but who knew this man would wrap himself in a large cloak that very night and brazenly step into my main quarters and bed. I'm a patient. The residual poison hasn't cleared. He leaned against the soft pillow with complete confidence. I need my wife to personally take care of me. I pointed toward the door. There are servants outside, and Granny is quick and capable. They're clumsy and disturb my peace. Luli patted the empty spot beside him. Come here, sit down. Tell this lord all about that scumbag brother-in-law of yours. This lord thinks there must be an even bigger secret behind all this. Me, so the illustrious Marquis of Yong'an, is also someone who loves to hear gossip. Ever since tearing off the facade on the day of the return visit, Jiang Yao's days in the Lai household had been like falling into an icy pit. But I truly underestimated the tenacity of that last thread of the female lead's halo, clinging to life. In order to salvage Lai Wenkai's ruined reputation, and also to find a way out of her trapped fate, she actually sold off the few remaining pieces of jewelry she had left, and rented out a waterside pavilion, organizing a waterside poetry gathering. She sent out invitations to a group of somewhat famous literati and scholars in the capital, and even specially sent an invitation to the Marquis's residence. Is she trying to completely turn things around through poetry and verse? Holding the gold embossed invitation, I asked Luli, who was leisurely practicing calligraphy in the courtyard. This Hongmen banquet, is your lordship going? Luli's brush paused, leaving behind a vigorous and powerful character June tranquility, then took the hot towel handed over by a maid to wipe his hands. Go, why wouldn't I go? Since someone has set up a stage for a grand performance, how could we as elders not show our support? The poetry gathering was set at the Linshui Wangjiang Pavilion on the outskirts of the city. Lai Wenkai had specifically worn a moon-white robe with subtle patterns today, holding a folding fan, standing among a group of sour scholars, pontificating grandly, once again putting on that lofty air of someone who guides the nation. Seeing us walking up to the second floor surrounded by guards, Jiang Yao came forward with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Second sister is here. Today, Brother Wenkai happened upon an excellent line and wants to compose a new poem, magnificent enough to astound the Hanlin Academy. He specially invited the Marquis and you to come appreciate it together. Astound the Hanlin Academy. Luli raised his long eyebrows slightly. Then this Marquis must listen attentively. After 3 rounds of drinks, the atmosphere grew tipsy, and Li Wenkai stood firm amid the jeering of the scholars. On this fine day, with beautiful scenery, I happen to feel something in my heart, so I'll make a fool of myself. He cleared his throat, unfolded his fan, and recited loudly, When will the bright moon appear? I raise my cup to ask the blue sky. I wonder what year it is tonight in the celestial palace. As the final line, I only wish we could live long and share the beautiful moon, though 1,000 miles apart fell. The entire venue first fell into dead silence, then erupted with thunderous gasps and applause. Excellent poem, simply a masterpiece for the ages. With such breadth of mind and literary talent, Brother Li will surely rank first in the autumn examinations. Jiang Yao's face flushed red with excitement as she looked at me provocatively, as if she had already seen herself being granted the glorious moment of becoming an officially titled lady. But I sneered inwardly. This poem, I couldn't be more familiar with it. In my previous life, to help Lai Wenkai gain favor with the old grand tutor, I racked my brains and transcribed from memory an exceptionally exquisite poem recorded in the fragmentary rare manuscript. My birth mother left me when I was young and gave it to Lai Wenkai to plagiarize under his own name. In this life, I had long hidden away those manuscripts. How could he possibly know about them? Without a doubt, it was Jiang Yao who, relying on memories from the previous life, transcribed it in advance, and had Lai Wenkai memorize it, so he could make a stunning impression today. This husband and wife, one shameless, the other a fraud stealing fame, truly are a match made in heaven. Well, Zhang Yao walked up to me, lifting her chin. This is an exceptional verse Wensai, painstakingly composed over several days. What does little sister think? The poem is indeed brilliantly magnificent. I stood up, my voice clear and melodious, cutting through the surrounding clamour. However, was this poem really composed by brother-in-law? Of course it was me. Li Wenkai straightened his back. Don't tell me it could have been written by you, a mere woman confined to the inner chambers. Second younger sister, don't think that just because you've married into the Marquis manor, you can spout nonsense and slander people's reputation, Zhang Yao said sternly. I chuckled softly and drew from my wide sleeve a slightly yellowed, time-worn paper with edges somewhat frayed. The authentic manuscript from my birth mother 10 years ago, restored by the system. What a coincidence. I unfolded the old paper in my hand. This poem, 10 years ago when my mother was still alive. I saw it in a fragmentary scroll. I copied it in my childhood, and even wrote it in my calligraphy practice book. This paper not only has this poem, but even the traces of deliberation and revision of several phrases are crystal clear. I paused for a moment, then handed the paper with both hands to Scholar Liu, the most renowned retired scholar from the Hanlin Academy present. Scholar Liu, I trouble you to examine this. Take a look at the age of this paper and the depth of this ink. Oh, the utter satisfaction of this scene. The toxic scholar, desperate to claw back his reputation, throws a fancy literary party and recites a masterpiece to astound the scholars. He thinks he's so clever, plagiarizing a poem the sister remembered from the past life. But Zhang Ning doesn't just call him a liar. She pulls out the original 10-year-old manuscript with the ink aged to perfection and hands it to a literary expert. It is the Georgian-era equivalent of bringing screenshots to a fight. She absolutely annihilates his fraudulent ego in front of the entire capital's elite. You can't help but cheer. It proves that you can steal a script, but you can never fake genuine talent. Scholar Liu stroked his beard as he took it, pulled out the Western spectacles clipped at his waist, examined it carefully for a moment, and his expression changed dramatically. This paper is indeed the Chengxin Tang paper, a specialty product from Shu region from 10 years ago. This ink has penetrated deep, definitely not written in recent days. Scholar Liu pointed at the last 2 lines. And look at these 2 alterations. Clearly the original author was deliberating over the wording. What young Master Li just recited differs not by a single word from this final draft. If you had composed it just now on a whim, how could it be identical to a predecessor's manuscript from 10 years ago? Boom, the private seats on the 2nd floor instantly erupted into chaos. What? It is actually plagiarized from a predecessor's fragmentary scroll. No wonder a Shukai who hasn't even passed the provincial examination could write such seasoned and profound verses. Deceiving the world and stealing fame, a disgrace to scholars. The literati valued their integrity above all else and despised this shameless act of plagiarizing others' work to save face. They all cast contemptuous looks at Lai Wenkai. Li Wenkai's face instantly drained of all color, cold sweat pouring down. No, that is not it. This is a misunderstanding. Zhang Yao panicked and pointed at me, shrieking, "You're lying. You must have paid a fortune to have someone artificially age this paper to forge it." "How dare you?" Luli coldly shouted, his teacup heavily striking the table. "Master Liu served as imperial tutor under 3 emperors. How dare a woman like you question his judgment? Zhang Yao, just to gain fame for a worthless fool. You dare to deceive all the scholars under heaven. Get out, shameless. Sitting at the same table with you simply dirties our eyes." The crowd of literati, filled with righteous indignation, pushed and shoved Lai Wenkai out. Lai Wenkai fled with his head covered, as wretched as a stray dog. Jiang Yao stood frozen in place, looking at the mess all around. Her eyes filled with nothing but endless panic and despair. Ruined. Everything was ruined. I held my handkerchief, using the motion of drinking tea to hide the smile at the corner of my mouth. Task completed. Expose the fraud and plagiarism. Hidden reward, truth serum, has been deposited. You chose this path yourself, and even if it is a dead end, dear sister, you'll have to ram your head into it all the way. After the poetry gathering by the water incident, Lai Wenkai's reputation was completely ruined among the scholarly circles in the capital. Originally, he had planned to bribe the examiners with money, but now no one was even willing to write him a guarantor's letter for the autumn examination. The imperial exam required someone else's guarantee. After being humiliated outside, he would come home and vent all his resentment and venom on Jiang Yao. On top of that, the Lai family's fortune had been gambled away completely, with creditors coming to their door daily to splash red paint. That Lai Wenkai, who once prided himself on being noble and aloof, had completely turned into a puddle of stinking mud. On this day, however, the Marquis's manor was filled with gentle breezes and peaceful tranquility. Not only had Lu Li's body been completely detoxified, but thanks to his foundation as a military general, he was now as vigorous as a dragon and fierce as a tiger. He began to decisively reorganize the Marquis's manor, dealing cleanly with those branch family members who had tried to profit and climb the ladder while he was seriously ill, especially that second great-uncle who had attempted to adopt his own stupid grandson to Lu Li in order to scheme for the Marquis's title. And today he came again to make trouble in the front hall. Lu Li, although you've recovered your life, the matter of heirs for continuing the family line is of great importance. The second great-uncle relied on his seniority, leaning on his cane. The Jiang woman's belly shows no signs of movement, so why not adopt little Bao? That way the Lu family will have someone to carry on the line. Lu Li sat upright in his grand armchair, his slender, well-defined fingers leisurely cracking walnuts for me. Second granduncle, you worry too much. Lu Li placed the peeled walnut kernels on the small plate in front of me without even sparing him a glance. This Marquis is in his prime, and my wife and I are newlyweds. Offspring is just a matter of time. As for adoption, if second granduncle really feels so bad for this child, why don't you go back to your hometown first and fill the deficit from those years when you illegally bought and sold good farmland for others in Shu? Second granduncle's face changed drastically. His legs went weak, and he nearly fell to his knees. How did Lu Li know about those dirty deeds of his embezzlement and bribery? Amanu Li waved his hand coldly. Escort second granduncle back to the old residence. Without this Marquis's orders, he is not permitted to set foot in the capital again. If he says another word, invite the officials from the capital magistrate's office to thoroughly investigate that messy account of his. Several armed guards surged in menacingly, directly lifting up the two elderly and one young person, and threw them out without any regard for their dignity. I held my hot tea, watching with great interest. Lu Li turned around, his deep gaze falling on me, suddenly leaning closer. Since Madam enjoys watching the show so much, I wonder what you think of what I just said to the clan elder. What words? I warily shrank back. The matter of offspring. He chuckled softly, a dangerous yet charming gleam flickering in his eyes. Madam, shouldn't we also discuss this matter? My ears burned hot from his straightforward words, just as I didn't know how to handle it. Butler Fu suddenly reported hurriedly outside the door. Lord Marquis, madam, something terrible has happened to the Lai family. I raised an eyebrow and said seriously, "Come in and speak." Butler Fu wiped his sweat and said urgently, that Li Wenkai couldn't repay the high-interest loan he owed outside. He was so heartless that he hid it from the eldest miss, secretly signed a divorce letter, and tried to marry the eldest miss off as a concubine to a wealthy gentry over 60 years old outside the city. The eldest miss happened to catch him, and the two got into a huge fight in the inner room. I sat up straight abruptly, and then the eldest miss went crazy with anger and smashed everything in the room. She accidentally knocked over the oil lamp, and the fire burned the bedroom. Li Wenkai panicked while escaping, and his face was struck by a falling beam, disfiguring him. Now both of them have been arrested and thrown into prison by the Shuntian prefecture officials. I gasped, yet felt incredibly satisfied. Despite all her scheming, Jiang Yao not only failed to become the Prime Minister's wife, but instead brought herself to a dead end. Luli stood up, straightened his sleeves, turned to look at me, and extended his hand toward me. "Let's go, my wife. No matter what, we should go to the prison and see eldest sister-in-law off one last time." Deep in the Shuntian prefecture prison, it was dark and damp, with the air filled with the pungent smell of mold and blood. Although it was a fire, more than half of the Lai family's already cramped little courtyard was burned down. That Li Yao failed to become the Prime Minister's wife as she wished, and instead gained a convicted criminal husband with half his face ruined and a ferocious appearance. Luli and I stood outside the fence with a lantern carrying jailer behind us. On the pile of dry straw in the corner, Jiang Yao had disheveled hair, her prison uniform covered with ashes and mud. Hearing footsteps, she slowly lifted her head. Those eyes that were once skilled at scheming now only held deep madness and emptiness. And in the cell across from her, Li Wenkai, wrapped in filthy bandages, was still moaning and cursing in pain. Shrew harbinger of doom, husband cursing bitch. "If it weren't for you, I would have already. I should have burned you to death." Jiang Yao suddenly lunged at the wooden fence, her nails digging desperately into the wood cracks, her appearance like a ghost. When her peripheral vision caught sight of me in luxurious fox fur, carefully protected in Luli's arms, she seemed to have all her strength drained away, and suddenly collapsed to the ground. "Why," she muttered to herself, "I am the Prime Minister's wife. I came here to enjoy blessings. I was supposed to be a first-rank noblewoman. Seeing me, she suddenly grasped at me like a drowning person clutching at straws, reaching out her blood-stained hands. Ninga, second sister. Please beg the Marquis to save me and get me out of here. I don't want to die in this place. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have stolen your marriage arrangement. I had no idea Li Wenkai was such a beast worse than pigs and dogs." I quietly looked at her through the bars. "If you knew it would come to this, why did you do it in the first place?" "Eldest sister," I sighed, my voice particularly clear in the empty prison. "This is the good marriage you sought for yourself. How can you say it is worse than pigs and dogs? No, this isn't what I chose." Jiang Yao screamed hysterically. "In my previous life, it wasn't like this at all. In my previous life, he clearly became a prime minister at the pinnacle of power. It is you. You used some kind of sorcery and stole my fortune. Otherwise, how could that consumptive ghost of a Marquis possibly survive? The glory and wealth of the Marquis manor should have been mine," she began rambling incoherently. If I hadn't also lived 2 lifetimes, anyone else hearing this would just think she was a lunatic. Luli frowned, a trace of disgust flashing in his eyes, instinctively shielding me behind him. A raving madwoman spouting nonsense. "She is not mad." I shook my head. "She just can't accept that the fruit she schemed so hard to steal is a rotten apricot with maggots inside. She couldn't accept that after living a second life. She had instead played a winning hand into complete ruins. Sister, in this world, there has never been such a thing as unearned incredible fortune falling from the sky." I leaned down, staring into her eyes, lowering my voice. Some paths, since you once begged Father on your knees to take them, now you have to finish crawling through them, even if you must crawl. With that, I turned around and didn't look at her anymore. This is probably what common folk mean when they say, evil people have their own evil people to torment them. Although Jiang Yao and Li Wenkai were imprisoned, I knew this drama was still missing its final climax. According to the Great Zhou's laws, arson and forcing a wife to become a concubine, though serious crimes, would at most result in exile or hard labor. With that old shrew from the Ai family's talent for making scenes, she might even be able to bribe her way through and suffer less. At this moment, I felt the bottle of truth serum system rewarded me with in my sleeve pocket. The next day, the prefect of Shunqian held court to publicly try the Lai family's arson and forcing a good woman to be a concubine case. Since it involved the daughter of the minister's household, many common folk from the capital crowded outside the yamen to watch the excitement. Lu Li, as the brother-in-law of the victim, naturally sat at the side of the hall listening in. Before court opened, Lu Li's hidden guard, under the guise of passing water, mixed that colorless and tasteless truth serum into Lai Wenkai's tea bowl. In court, Lai Wenkai was still tearfully arguing his innocence, pushing all the blame onto Jiang Yao's jealous madness. Your Honor, please see clearly. This vicious woman is dissatisfied with this commoner's poverty, so she deliberately set fire to harm people. This commoner is innocent. The drug's effect took hold at this very moment. Li Wenkai's kowtowing motions suddenly froze stiff. His eyes, bloodshot and twisted from disfigurement, abruptly stared straight at the magistrate. Then he actually stood up and pointed at the plaque in the hall, laughing loudly. Innocent. I don't want any damn innocence. I'm about to become a high official. The entire hall erupted in shock. The Shunqian magistrate struck his gavel so hard it shook the heavens. Insolence! How dare you bellow in the court of law? What the hell are you to yell at me? Under the drug's influence, the arrogance and secrets buried deepest in Li Wenkai's heart gushed out like a bursting dam. I'll tell you, the chief examiner for this year's autumn imperial examination has long been bought off. I sold that bitch's dowry and scraped together a full 500 taels of silver to buy the top secret exam questions for this test. Once I pass the provincial exam and become the top scholar, what woman can't I have? By then, even you, this magistrate, will have to help me put on my shoes. This is the grand finale of karma, taking out the rubbish. The scholar is in court, trying to play the innocent victim and blame his wife for their house burning down. But Jiang Ning has slipped him a little truth serum. Instead of defending himself, he stands up in front of the judge and a secret imperial inspector, and accidentally confesses to national treason and exam fraud. He brags about bribing the examiners in open court. The sheer self-sabotage is a work of art. Jiang Ning didn't even have to ruin him. She just gave him the stage and let his own toxic arrogance dig a grave so deep it resulted in his permanent exile. Inside and outside the great hall, gasps of shock rose and fell one after another. The Shunqian magistrate's face instantly turned deathly pale as paper. Imperial examination fraud. This was a grave crime that would implicate 9 generations of kin and alarm. The emperor himself. Not only were there common people present, but even an imperial censor on a private inspection tour. The censor's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot, and he immediately drew the token from his waist and ordered the officers to arrest the man. Immediately throw this scoundrel into death row, seal off the examination grounds at once, and arrest the chief examiner and all his associates. Things had completely blown up. What had originally been just a domestic security case instantly escalated into an imperial examination fraud scandal that shocked the entire court. In just 3 days, not only did Lai Wenkai confess the examiner who sold the questions, but following the trail, half of the Hanlin Academy's deep-rooted corruption was completely uprooted. The emperor was furious and ordered severe punishment. As the buyer in the fraud case and the source of corruption, Lai Wenkai's crime was unforgivable, considering that no actual examination results had been effected. He was sentenced to exile 3,000 li away to the miasmic lands of Lingnan, never to return to the capital, with lifelong facial tattooing. As for Zhang Yao, as the legal wife of a serious criminal, she naturally couldn't escape collective punishment either, and was also sentenced to exile. The promising prospect she had schemed so hard to steal ultimately became the guillotine blade that pushed her into the inescapable hell. Outside the city gates, the autumn wind was bleak, and yellow sand swept everywhere. Today was the day the exiled criminals left the capital. I stood on the city tower, watching the long line of people below. Zhang Yao wore coarse cloth prison garments, a heavy wooden kang locked around her neck, and the straw sandals on her feet had already worn bloody blisters. Lai Wenkai walked in front of her, his face branded with black characters, limping along. The slightest slowdown would earn him a lashing from the guards' whips. "You wretched woman, you cursed me. If I hadn't married you, how would I have ended up in such a state?" Lai Wenkai turned his head and spat viciously at Zhang Yao. Zhang Yao wasn't about to back down, lunging at him like a crazed wildcat. "You useless waste. Give me back my dowry. Give me back my life." The two of them, shackled in chains, scuffled in the mud, drawing a flurry of blows from the guards' clubs. These two would continue to torment each other day after day on the 3,000-mile journey of exile. This is what they call a perfect match, locked in fate, impossible to defy heaven's will. Zhang Yao crawled up from the ground, and the moment she lifted her head, she saw me standing on the city tower, surrounded by maids and guards like stars encircling the moon. After a brief moment of madness, she suddenly laughed miserably, her eyes revealing ashen despair. Though we were far apart, I understood her soundless lip movement. "Why, in the last life, you let him become Prime Minister." I looked down at her from my high position, the corner of my mouth curling into a detached smile. I didn't grant her any voice, only replying with an equally soundless lip movement. Because in my previous life, I exhausted every bit of my bones and blood, and you only wanted to reap without sowing. In this world, no glory comes for free. How could a worthless mud like Lai Wenkai possibly climb to the clouds without scraping his bones and peeling his flesh to fill that bottomless pit? Zhang Yao only saw the glory of me wearing the imperial mandate in my previous life, but didn't see how I was completely burned out behind it all. She tried to copy someone else's answers, but was ultimately sliced to death by the blade on the exam paper. The procession moved far away, disappearing into the wind and sand beyond the frontier. The heavy boulder that had weighed on my heart for 2 lifetimes finally shattered completely. The blood and tears from my previous life have now been recovered with interest. "Has Madam seen enough?" A warm sensation came from behind. Luli removed his fox fur cloak and wrapped me up tightly in his arms, his chin gently resting on the top of my head. I've seen enough." I turned around and leaned against his broad, warm chest with peace of mind. This play has finally come to an end. That is good. Luli held me tightly, as if holding the most priceless treasure in the world. Let's go home." In my mind, that familiar electronic voice sounded for the last time, except this time, the voice seemed much more ethereal and distant. "Detected that the host's grievances have been vented. Defying fate and changing destiny has achieved great victory. The drama watching melon eating system has successfully completed its mission and will now fade into the void." Thank you, host, for your wonderful cooperation. You have received endless blessings. The system wishes you constant joy year after year and success in all your endeavors. I touched the small handful of sunflower seeds left in my sleeve and silently said in my heart, "Thank you." Without the system, I knew that my truly good days in this deep mansion were just beginning 3 years later. The most talked about topic in the capital was still the legendary matriarch of the Yong'an Marquis manor. The storytellers in the tea houses would often slam their wooden blocks and say with flying spittle, back in the day when the Yong'an Marquis was gravely ill, it was all thanks to this second Miss Zhang marrying in to bring good fortune that not only snatched the Marquis back from the King of Hell's hands, but also managed the manor as tight as an iron barrel. I heard the Marquis cherishes his wife like his own life. For her sake, he dismissed all the bedservants in the manor and stubbornly refused to take even a single concubine. Others laugh at him for being henpecked, but the Marquis says, "My life was given to me by my wife. Being afraid of her is this Marquis's blessing." At this moment, in the back garden of the Marquis manor, the sunlight was just right. I lay on the rocking chair under the wisteria trellis, with a small table beside me holding iced grapes and shelled premium sunflower seed kernels that Nanny Wang had just brought over. Luli wore a moon-white casual outfit, completely devoid of the coldness he showed in front of outsiders. Holding a newly published folk storybook from the marketplace, he was reading the latest capital gossip, to me with great emotion. I heard that the third young master of the Minister of Right's family fell into the water, along with the young master of Vice Minister Li's family, yesterday on a pleasure boat, all because of a courtesan. I listened with great interest, opening my mouth from time to time to catch the glistening grapes that Luli had peeled and deseeded before feeding them to me. This was the life I wanted. No scheming and plotting, no deception for survival. Just endless gossip to enjoy and endless love with the one I cherish. At this moment, a little dumpling wearing bright, yellow tiger head shoes stumbled through the flower bushes and ran over, diving straight into Luli's arms. "Daddy, Daddy, Anna wants to eat fruit too. I want to hear about the fight too." This was our son, Luan. He had sharp brows and bright eyes, looking like he was carved from the same mold as Lu Li, except for his nosy personality that loved watching the excitement that he inherited completely from me. Lu Li laughed as he lifted his son high up, planted a kiss on his chubby cheek, then turned his head, his eyes brimming with intoxicating tenderness as he gazed at me. "All right, Daddy will take you along to watch the show with your mother." The gentle breeze was pleasant, and the garden was filled with floral fragrance. Not far away was a large field of sunflowers that Luli had specially ordered people to find quality seeds from the western regions to plant for me. Now facing the bright sun, blooming brilliantly golden and dazzling, I watched this laughing and playful father and son, the corners of my mouth involuntarily curling upward. Back then, Zhang Yao schemed every which way to snatch away that so-called potential stock, who would definitely make it big, and dump this mess of being a grass widow on me. And looking at it now, what kind of grass widow is this? This is clearly a smooth path to the peak of life. I picked up a plump sunflower seed kernel and put it in my mouth. The flavor from cracking these seeds is just like this lifetime, crispy, fragrant, and perfectly satisfying. If I had to distill the absolute magic of this story, my lovelies, it comes down to two beautiful core themes: the myth of the golden ticket and uncredited female labor. For centuries, society has sold women this grand illusion that marrying potential is the key to a good life. But this story beautifully dismantles that. It shows how often a man's supposedly natural brilliance is actually propped up by the uncredited female labor of the woman killing herself behind the scenes. The sister thought she was stealing a ready-made prime minister. She didn't realize she was volunteering for a lifetime of unpaid, unappreciated, soul-crushing labor for a narcissist. Meanwhile, Jiang Ning walks away from the struggle-love narrative. She enters her soft life era. She finds true partnership with a powerful Marquis who doesn't want her to build him from scratch, but rather sits beside her, peels grapes for her, and joins her in watching the local gossip unfold. It's a brilliant reminder, never exhaust your own light, just to make a mediocre man shine. So the takeaway for today, my darlings, if someone wants to steal your stressful, toxic, high-maintenance partner, kindly hold the door open for them and wish them luck. If you relished watching our heroine firmly step off the struggle bus and live her absolute best, wealthy, snack-filled life, please be an absolute star and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like if you cheered when that fraud of a scholar exposed himself in court. And I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever just sat back with your metaphorical bowl of popcorn and watched a toxic person spectacularly dig their own grave? Let us share our best karma stories down below. Until next time, keep your boundaries firm, your snacks topped up, and remember, your peace is always the ultimate prize. Cheerio.